I'm going to focus on talking a bit about the practicality, I suppose, of being an active woman, trade unionist, feminist, and really a bit about what it takes for women to get where we have been able to get in the union movement. And my background is basically very focused on being an organiser. I've always been an organiser. It's where I started as a union official. I was a workplace delegate and rep. I became a trade union organiser with my union, with the teachers' union, and so when I went into leadership position, I came with that organising base. And I think that there's two reasons why Sally is just the best person and just so exciting to have her heading up the ACTU. And one is that she's the first woman, and let's have a think about it, the first ever woman to be in any position called a secretary attached to it ever in the ACTU. We've never even had an assistant secretary, so we knew we had to crack that barrier, and she's done it. But the other thing is that she's an organiser. She comes from an organising background, and I think, and I'll have to be corrected on this, but I think she might be the very first organiser that's got to that position as well in the trade union movement, which will bring us a whole different approach, I think, to the role of the peak body. And and she was in the very first group of people that were in a program that the trade union movement started many years ago called Organising Works, which was a program that came up with young people being actually trained into the role of being a trade union organiser, and she was in the first bunch with Bill Shorten, actually, which is really interesting. And so I think there's some really exciting things coming. Look, my main theory, I suppose, about how we've been able to achieve what we have been able to achieve and deal with the struggles that we have in I think, a pretty successful way in the trade union movement, notwithstanding that there's still many challenges ahead, is that my main theory is that nothing happens by accident, and you have to get organised in order to be able to win what you win. So and also don't rely on the help of others, particularly as a woman. My experience is don't ever rely on the help of men, because it doesn't tend to come willingly or quickly. And in my own story, the only clear reason why I was able to do the things I've done in my career now, looking back, I never thought I was in a career, but now I'm getting old, I think I probably did have one. It is that I only was able to achieve what I've achieved through the support of other women. And if those other women hadn't been there at particular times or collectively, then I wouldn't be able to have done what I got to be able to do. And it goes to Suzanne's thing. It's an actual real honour and privilege to work in that way. To actually be paid to change the world, I think, is like the best job in the world. But I also think that structure is really, really important, and we shouldn't ever discount the importance of things like rules and structures and properly funded programs, because they are crucial as well. I'm very lucky to have come up through a union that had very historically very unique structure and rules around women. And the Teachers' Union in South Australia had a really interesting history, because over the equal pay fight in the 1930s, the women walked out of the union and formed their own union in South Australia, and they had their own union for 20, 30 years, and then because the men would not support their struggle for equal pay. And so they then renegotiated their re-entry, and when they formed the South Australian Institute of Teachers back into the union. And in doing that negotiation, the women heading up there, the women's unit at that time, were bloody tough negotiators, and they negotiated that every committee in that union had to have 50% women, including the executive, and all the committee structures of that union. And the leadership had to have an allocated position called a women's vice president. So that was done in the 50s, so then there became a tradition of that doing, which meant in a union like the Teachers' Union, then there was a requirement that even the men had to go running around looking for women activists to come into the union to be leaders. So everyone was committed to doing that. So it created spaces for women to take on leadership that was structurally bound. And I'm a great believer in that, and I'm a great believer in affirmative action and setting those structures. The other thing that really has made a difference, I think, through watching women develop and grow into leadership positions in South Australia too, has been things like particular programs like the Anna Stewart program and this program. And this program's crucial. And a number of unions have had women leadership programs, but the Anna Stewart program is probably the most successful union training program in Australia. In South Australia, it's been going for nearly 30 years now, continuously, and that is about a bunch of active women members who are given an opportunity to work shadow in their union, learn about being a union official, and working out where they wanted to step up next in their union, you know, to give a bit of a boost. When you look at a study of what's happened to those women who've done those programs over that 30 years, it's phenomenal what's happened. Just it was 2 weeks training and support, just 2 weeks, okay? And the other one is actually through individual women's support of each other. And look, I think I do a lot of theories, but my other theory is that Adelaide is a bit of a special place. I don't know whether you'd agree with that, Mary Margaret.
I do. I've been here 10 times.
I think as someone that loves history, and I love that theory that places develop the way they started, and our history in women and feminism and women's struggles here in our state has been phenomenal. But in the trade union movement, as Suzanne described, there's always been this really close relationship between women in the trade union movement and women academics and feminist academics. And that has created a space for us to really think through things deeply and come up with strategies that aren't just tied into the structure of the trade union movement, but a much bigger and broader thinking. And the fact that we get the biggest International Women's Day breakfast here in the whole, probably in Australia, probably the world, with over 2,000 women, ordinary women in this place, turning up to sit and listen to a woman speaking about being a woman or feminism every year is quite amazing. So I think that we've been able to do some really good things in this state. So we've always worked together, as Suzanne described, but I just also think that women supporting each other is absolutely crucial. And I've got a bit of a story about Clare in relation to that, because personally, I wouldn't be able to get where I was, to even start where I was, without, first of all, the support of Leonie Ebert, who was the first women president of SAYET, the new body, you know, following the amalgamation. I was just a stupid young thing of 23 or something, said, I'll be an organiser, and went and applied for a job, and totally stuffed the interview. And she fought very hard for me to come back, and then gave me the advice and support of friends of hers to train me up to come back to the interview, and I got my first job in the union. So that always count that as one. But Clare and I were elected at the same time, and she was president, I was vice president, but I didn't run on her ticket. We actually politically were different, and we argued politics. We didn't always agree, which is, I think, another thing. You don't have to agree to support each other. And the two things the one most significant thing that I found that I got support from Clare, because Clare would support women. You know, she would actually support other women regardless of factual politics. And I came in to be the vice president when my son was 9 months old. And so when he was 4, I wanted to be able to spend 1 day a week with him before he went to school, because those precious years, and then they're off to school. So I wanted to go to be, and there was no rules in our union where you could be a part-time elected official. So what I had to do is actually go to branch council, which was 120 people who came from all over the state, from our delegates, and argue in front of branch council that they would allow me to vary the rules in order to be able to work part-time to look after my son. And people were opposed. They thought it would set a very bad precedent, because elected officials should be full-time. But and even some people in Clare's factional group were arguing against that. And so, as president and as chair, she actually vacated the chair, moved and spoke on my behalf and supported me. She didn't have to do that. She could have sat in the chair and watched the debate and seen it played out, but she actually made a very important step towards that. And so it's that sort of women-to-women support that she gave that was really important. So I suppose, to summarise, I'd say that through my personal story, I've only got there through the support of women. I've only got there through the conditions we've collectively as women, like maternity leave and being able to actually argue and sort of access conditions that we've been able to win together. So in the end, for me, it goes right back to principles of organising, that we've got to actually clearly work out what we want, go after it, get organised and support each other and keep going and be tenacious and determined. And it's a lot of hard work, but we think through our efforts have managed to demonstrate that it does work, and we just need to keep going. And that's why this project is so exciting, because it's just another step in that journey.
Yeah.